me and Anthony decided the cast was going to be overtime. I'm glad that I got the chance to lead with this next topic, especially with Jay and Jason here. McNuggets, I know you are a hooper. Speaking of 224 points. That's what LeBron James needs
close now.
To become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. Now, once he accomplished that feat, plus his 4 rings and being ranked top 5 all time in assists, is he the GOAT?
It's a good question. So that's about a dozen games. There's not even a dozen. He may do
ESPN's
10.
projection is 9 games.
Okay.
February 9th is their projected at this current scoring rate.
Where will that happen?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But February 9th was the day.
Okay.
They'll probably rig it to happen at home.
I'll start with you.
He'll sit a game to make sure it happens at the Staples.
Yeah,
or
I know.
The new crypto, which, by the way, real quick aside, it's the Staples. The Crypto Center.
Crypto,
I know.
The Crypt.
Silly.
The Crypt, yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of these new stadium names are dumb. That's a story for another day.
I'll let Jason start.
Yeah.
I love Earl. I hate these discussions, and of course I'm biased. Like,
yeah,
I spent every day with him for 4 years. Yes, so I'm biased. And these things, like it's great bar talk. It's great,
It's great for a 2-hour YouTube show.
And I changed my mind. Like, I'll be honest. When I cover LeBron, I'm like, oh, he's the greatest.
What if the Athletic came to you? Let's go at it this way. The Athletic has come to you and said, in light of him becoming the sport's all-time leading scorer,
yeah,
you know his career as well as anyone. We want you to write a piece simply, who is the GOAT?
We actually kind of did that last year. We did a top 75, and we had LeBron. It wasn't my decision. We had LeBron 2 and Michael 1.
Yeah.
But Joe Varden and I wrote the story together on sort of making the case for number 1. And here, so here's, I guess, where I fall on this. And I've gone back and forth. When I covered him, I thought he was the greatest. When I watched the 10-part series, The Last Dance, I thought Michael was the greatest.
Because you'd forgotten how dominant Michael was. And I was reminded by that, too.
Yeah, but so here's, I guess, what gnaws at me in this whole debate. Why does Michael get a pass for losing?
Yes.
In the conference finals?
I know.
All those years.
It's always driven me nuts.
So
they make it seem like he played 15 years and won 15 titles.
Right.
There were 9 years he didn't make the championship round.
And Jerry West was great talking about this in the one of the Cavs Warriors years, and he said, if I was LeBron, I'd strangle all you guys in the media because his team has rarely ever been favored to win in all of these series. So he gets punished for 2007 when that team had no business making the finals. Nope. None. They got swept by the Spurs. It wasn't a very good team. I mentioned this before, I just wrote a big piece on Mike Brown. I went up to Detroit and spent an afternoon with Mike, and we were talking about it. I said, that team had no business going to the finals. When you talk about
Mo Williams was their second best player.
Yeah, when you talk about a big 3 and you need 3 All-Stars, and I mean that team, it was LeBron and nothing else. So he gets punished for that. He gets punished because Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving got hurt in the first finals against the Warriors. The Maverick series is on him. He did not play well at all. When his first year in Miami, the Dallas, that was a disaster. That's all on him, and he knows it. But why is it that Michael lost so many times to the Pistons, and that's okay?
History has scrubbed that away.
Yeah.
Because it's convenient to their argument.
So had he gotten there a year or two early, had they knocked off Detroit a year or two early and then lost in the finals, and he's 6-2 in the finals, are we having a different discussion about LeBron? I just can't that doesn't make any sense to me. And for him to do what he did in Cleveland, that one title in Cleveland is worth 2 or 3 in the legacy, in my view, coming back from 3-1, ending the 52-year drought. And the fact that he's done it with 3 different teams.
That's what's key for me.
Nobody else has done it. No other don't give me Robert Horry, no other great player, legendary player, has taken 3 franchises to championships. And he was the lead when Miami won. He was second to Dwayne that first year, and then he took over.
Yep.
And he was the guy in Miami. To do it with 3 different teams is something that no one else has done.
You're making the case, yes, he is the GOAT.
And I think he has a very strong case, and that's to take nothing away from Michael.
You don't want to definitively call him the GOAT.
Well, I don't. I mean, listen, I said it at the start, I'm biased. I think he is, but I understand I'm coming from a different place that nobody else is.
Sure.
I mean, Michael Wilbon would punch me in the face if I said LeBron was the GOAT.
There are a lot of people that would want to do that.
I'm sure, but I use Michael because Michael covered Michael.
Sure.
Covered Michael Jordan. If you're with that guy every day, if you see the work that they put in, if you see everything up close, people who covered Kareem back in the day would say Kareem is. And just when you look at LeBron's numbers, I mean, I think I would say Michael is the greatest winner of all time. But when you look at points, rebounds, assists, LeBron's bigger, stronger, faster than Michael. He's going to beat him in history in every major category.
He did a lot more than Michael could do.
Yeah.
At a dominant level.
So it's hard.
The biggest thing on LeBron's resume when it's all said and done, and you look at the numbers, he's going to finish first in scoring.
Yep.
He's currently 6th all-time in assists. He's 9th all-time in steals. He's top 35 in rebounds. No one else has those numbers across the board.
No one.
He's going to play 20-plus years in the league. He's either tied or already has the record for most first-team All-NBA appearances. His longevity is what's going to separate him from everyone else in this GOAT debate. And however you want to weigh longevity versus finals losses, like, there's no definitive answer. And I'll tell you why I lean towards MJ by the slightest of hairs, and this could change if LeBron wins 2 more rings
I
and
get
all
to
that.
settle it.
Yeah. I go down to the dumbest test in the world, but this is honestly how I look at it. If an alien landed on this planet today, and I had to put one person in their prime against an alien from Jupiter in a game of basketball, I'm picking Michael Jordan to go one-on-one against that alien. Is there validity to that? I don't know. I got no clue. But I have whatever reason in my gut, and maybe it is from that Miami Finals that I can't just get out of my head.
Yeah.
And it's the 6-0, which isn't fair because, like you said, with the actual context to 6-0, it's not really 6-0, and LeBron's Finals record isn't really as bad as it looks on paper. I'm taking Jordan as the ultimate killer in a one-on-one battle against an alien from Jupiter. By the slightest of margins, I give Jordan the GOAT edge. But when you look at the numbers, Jordan took 3 years off in the middle of his career.
That's exactly right.
LeBron's bubble title, which I'm calling bubble title because it happened in a bubble, he was the best in the postseason. He had 3 weeks off before then. Imagine if you gave LeBron 3 years to rest his basketball. He could play till he's 58.
Well,
It's not apples, no matter how you look at these numbers. Those numbers are apples to apples. Era, competition, everything else. There's nothing else about these two besides the fact they play basketball is apples to apples. So it's an impossible debate to have an actual answer for unless you consider my alien test. And in that case, I'm going with LeBron.
Which is, by the way, a really weird way to figure out. If I need one guy to play against an alien.
It might be honest soon, by the way. Tyvis, like in the alien test, Tyvis might have a point.
But it goes back to what I said about calling him the greatest winner of all time. I do think that's Michael. I think he's the greatest winner of all time. But 8 straight trips to the finals for LeBron. 8 straight trips.
Yeah.
Like, the joke was Michael made it 3 times and had to retire. And then he came back and went 3 times and had to retire.
Yeah.
8 straight trips. I can't explain the exhaustion and the mental and physical toll that takes starting in September and then playing until June.
Late June.
And then doing it again. And then doing it again. And then doing it again.
Yeah,
and then
8 years in a
changing
row.
teams. And then doing it again. 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 It's unheard of.
And Jay, before you defend LeBron, I got a pro LeBron point here, which is going to maybe counteract my Jordan alien test. But we talk about Malone, Stockton, Barkley. These guys almost get a pass for not winning a ring because they played in the Jordan era. Well, LeBron had to go against Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and arguably the greatest NBA team ever assembled. Was it 4 straight finals against the Warriors, right? 4 straight?
4 straight.
Now, they didn't have Durant for all 4, but let's not dismiss those
They needed Durant
teams.
to beat them.
Exactly.
They did. They had to go out and get an MVP
top
player.
A top
to
15
stop
player all
LeBron
time.
James from steamrolling
Yes,
them.
Yeah.
there you go. And
into
that,
the future.
That also might be the best point for the pro LeBron argument here, because Kevin Durant in the alien test, the aliens don't have a second alien from Pluto coming down for a 2-on-2 contest versus Kevin Love and LeBron James. So
I do recognize the greatness of Michael Jordan. I'm lucky enough to have been a huge sports fan and part of the media for Jordan's career, part of the media for the end. Never covered him. I'm just saying I was a huge observer of the sport at that time. And then my first week at ESPN was LeBron James' first game as a pro.
Wow.
So
Sacramento.
it was. I recognize the greatness of Jordan, but I don't think it's as close as everybody makes it sound. And I'll give you my reasons. Number one, Jordan walked away from the sport for 3 years.
And that's got to count for something.
It does have to. People say, well, that means that he would have won 9 in a row.
No.
No, it doesn't.
Nope.
And the fact that he walked away is a piece of evidence that I have to put into my equation. He was not a great teammate. Brad can tell stories. There have been books written on it. He was an asshole.
The Last Dance. Just watch that.
Just watch it, and it is what it is. He was a great player, so you put up with his antics. I don't know that anybody ever accused LeBron of just being a bad teammate. I mean, to a fault, LeBron shares the basketball way more than Jordan ever did.
He could drive an organization crazy.
I know he can.
In different
and
ways.
Superstars have the tendency to do that. But to me, here's the one piece of evidence that I always put out there. The 2015-16 Warriors were widely regarded as the greatest regular season basketball team of all time.
Yeah.
73-9.
They broke the record for the most wins in a regular season. They were ridiculous. They were dominant. They were unstoppable. They were the best regular season team the sport has ever seen. In those finals, LeBron James led all scorers in the 5 metrics that box scores keep for basketball players: points, rebounds, blocks, assists, and steals.
Yep.
Guys, that's my mic drop. That's it. He did that. He didn't lead his team in all 5. He led all players in all 5 stats, and he did it against the all-time greatest regular season team the sport has ever seen, which, by the way, when Steph Curry stands at the podium and retires, and someone asks, what's the biggest disappointment of your career? It'll take him a nanosecond to answer. Not winning in 16.
Yep.
To definitively be able to say, how can you say you're the greatest team of all time if you don't win the championship?
You have zero claim to that.
Almost single-handedly stopped that from happening.
And was it the year they had Durant in Game 1, the J.R. Smith time mentioned, when he had the 51-point triple-double, which I've watched a lot of it, obviously not as much as you two, just based on age. That's the single greatest performance I've ever seen by a player.
Unreal.
Ever. And that game alone, he led the game. And mind you, that was a team with 4 Hall of Famers on the other side.
Yep.
In points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. And then obviously after that, he got hurt. I think did he punch a wall? I don't know what the truth behind that. But
The whiteboard.
The whiteboard, yada, yada. And then they got swept, and so that all gets washed away in history. But
it does.
That game loss was not on LeBron. That
Of course
game
not.
one
He
loss
did
was
everything
on
humanly
everyone else around him.
possible.
And if they win Game 1, that series
Totally
looks
different.
completely different.
I agree.
They still lose the series, but it probably goes 6. But they probably still lose. But he gets dinged for that because they got swept. And Michael would never get swept in a series. So
Well,
he gets
if Michael
dinged for
maybe
that.
played the 2017-2018 Warriors, you don't know. One thing about the points
Plus
record,
Jordan, I mean, I know that he has played since with some great teammates.
Yeah.
But Jordan won all of his with another top 50 player.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he's still in the top 50, but at the time when the NBA named its top 50,
but he's
of
in that
50.
realm that
yeah,
tier.
Pippen was an all-time great wingman, and LeBron had to figure out ways to win with a Rubik's Cube combination of rosters.
Yeah.
In 3 different cities, he's done it. And I just think that, and I'm not a LeBron homer. As much as I love LeBron, the player and the person, I think he's, he left Cleveland twice. And I'll always hold that against him as a Cleveland sports fan. But when I look at his career objectively and what he accomplished and the fact that he has any player ever led all players in a 7-game final series in 3 stat categories? Because if you think about the skill set needed to lead in points, it's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
In rebounds, it's another. Assists, it's 5 tools.
Yeah.
And he led all players.
He's the
for
most
7
well-rounded
games.
basketball player of all time.
And to me, that's what this argument comes down to. I don't want the most prolific scorer. I don't want the greatest winner. My time capsule test is this. 20 years from now, I can reach into the vault of everybody that's ever played this game and pull out one player and start a brand new team. It's going to be LeBron.
Yep.
Michael's number 2, but LeBron's my GOAT.
And I was talking to him when they were in town a few weeks ago. We talked about obviously the record and him coming up on the record. And he said, what's crazy? I'm not even a scorer.
That was
I know.
That was what I was trying to make. The fact that
and
he's
it's
going to
true,
lead.
he's not.
Yeah.
Because I think we could all agree there have been times throughout his career where, like, hey, you need to score more. Like,
Yeah.
I remember
Well, now's one of them.
maybe in Miami, I think it was he passed in his first season. He passed up a game-winning shot to Haslam in the corner, that short little baseline jumper that he made 99.5% of the time. He happened to miss that one time in the game winner. We all crucified him.
It happened when he was here the first time.
LeBron, you have to take the shot. You're the guy. And he's like, I'm a pass-first player. And the fact that a quote-unquote self-proclaimed pass-first player is going to end up number one all-time on the NBA scoring list might be his greatest testament to the game itself based on longevity. He's going to play 20-something years and never miss significant time outside of that one season in LA, which is just unbelievable in how today's day and age at load management, athlete, there's not words to describe what it is.
I think we've convinced you to come over.
No, I'm still taking LeBron. I mean,
just
Jordan
recently
in the
came
alien
over.
test.
You were a Jordan guy, and now you're a LeBron.
It took me until this year to really honestly realize, like, damn, LeBron James is
What
truly,
did it?
I just think when I look back over the entirety of his career and everything he's done, being ranked top 6 in assists, knowing he's a pass-first guy, just being ranked top 36 all time in every single category that matters for real. It did something to me. Like, this dude has done things that's unprecedented. Jay, this record that's done for what, 34 or 40 years?
It was never supposed to be broken.
It was never supposed to be broken.
It was
It's almost
deemed
like
to be
Emmitt Smith record,
untouchable.
right?
Deemed to be
One of those
untouchable.
ones that never be broken again.
Well, when he retired, I remember people saying, this won't be touched.
Yeah.
This will not be touched. Which,
Earl, pull up the graphic of the all-time scoring list real quick.
the all-time leaders?
Yeah, because, like, look at – he was 2,000 points ahead of Malone, and Malone played forever.
Yeah.
He did.
Look at Jordan. He was 6,000 points ahead of Jordan.
Now, in defense of that list,
Jordan took 3 years off.
And went to college.
Yes.
Right.
And, you know,
So that cost him quite a bit
Well,
of
James,
time.
It did.
James has
It cost
played the
him
most
time.
games. So this is not a points per game or points per season list because James has more. I think he has 500 more games than Jordan. So once again, not apples to apples, but it's still a pass-first player is going to pass Kareem Abdul Jabbar to be the most prolific scorer in the history of the sport.
mind-boggling.
frankly, I have to say, like, stuff like this and conversations like this, if I'm being honest, I think it's a disservice to Kareem Abdul Jabbar. When you look at his championships, his All-Star appearances, his points, I was talking to his publicist. I did because I also did Kareem as part of our top 75 all time.
Where did he come on the list for you guys?
Three. He was number 3, and his publicist said, "You know how many 3-pointers he made in his career? It was like 1."
yeah.
And for him to score that many, or maybe it was he took 1 and made 0. I don't remember.
I was guessing. That was
But
straight
it's
guess.
like it's no more than 1 if you ever made any. And her point was he scored 38,000 points without even attempting
2 at a time.
Yeah, 2 at a time.
Yeah.
And just the longevity. You talk about longevity. The longevity that takes is remarkable. I just think I just 20 years from now someone else is going to come along. Maybe it's Wembanyama. Maybe in 20 years we're having the Wembanyama discussion and everyone forgets about Michael. And in the guise of the past, the farther we get in the future, the more we lose our past. And I just, on some level, I think it's a disservice to guys like Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul Jabbar when we have these conversations because it's a recency bias of this is what we know and this is what we've seen.
Well, we do that a lot in this business. You know, when we oftentimes these greatest conversations tend to be in our lifetimes, things we remember.
Things that we've seen with our eyes.
Right. I can't even add Jim Brown in the GOAT running back conversation. Didn't see him play.
Right.
I don't know. I can look at paper and
Right.
read stats.
We can see grainy black and white clips.
Yes, and hear
footage.
stories.
Right.
I never watched him play. I don't
Right.
know. And when he
Right.
did play, they played a 12-game season and maybe a 14-game season at the end. I don't even know if it had gone
I
to
don't
14,
know.
but he played 9 seasons. He retired very young. Like, I don't know. Hell, you're literally going apples and oranges now. And I know that recency bias does affect a lot of these conversations, but when I look at Kareem Abdul Jabbar, and I do think that, you know, he would be my number 3 too, but he had such an inherent advantage over
With the teams
everyone.
that he was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he was on great
so-
teams, and he was giant in an era where not
So
everyone was
physically,
giant.
he had this incredible built-in advantage. And I mean, if we went to a playground and we watched a game where that was all 8th graders, but one of the 8th graders was 6'6", it would be like watching the NBA when Wilt, especially Wilt.
Yeah.
What was
When Wilt came in, the league wasn't equipped to deal with him. I mean, the league was control-alt-deleting for 2 years. They're like, what do we do? Can we change this rule? Can we change that rule?
Yeah.
And they literally changed the rules to stop him. But Kareem also had that kind of built-in advantage, and physically kind of moved like a ballerina with that sky hook. He invented a shot.
That nobody could. You can't touch it.
And there was no defense to it then, and there still isn't.
I want to see more people bring back the skyhook in today's day.
I don't know why more guys don't work on it.
Yeah.
Do you know who the only person who still kind of has it is? As clunky and ugly. Brooke Lopez will pull out a skyhook every once in a while for
Really?
the Bucks. He doesn't go in the post very often, but when he does catch it down there, it's ugly and he's
you've gotta
clunky,
be
but he just
big
goes
and graceful to pull it off.
Yeah.
But literally, just
It's not
by,
big, it's
by,
not
by
graceful.
physics, if you just do physics and angles and velocity, it's unstoppable.
It's impossible.
Because you'd have to be 8 foot tall
Yeah.
to
Well-
be able to extend out and
Yeah.
stop that
Wembanyama is
shot.
the only guy who could ever block it. He's coming to the league next year. That's why 20 years of generation knew Wembanyama was coming, and they're just like, you know what?
Maybe.
He's going to block it, so I'm not even going to try.
I thought this was a cool conversation.
No, I'm glad
because
we did it.
I actually, there's a video of me crying like crazy when LeBron left in 2010.
Yeah.
And I actually let a stranger in my house watching Michael Jordan in '97.
I remember you told us.
That's
Yeah, so
amazing.
That's great.
It all came full circle.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those, you almost can't ask Clevelanders because
Well,
there's obviously
let me ask you this. And
fan
I
bias.
want to ask you this too. Alien test. Just bear with me. Would you send LeBron or would you send Jordan against an alien?
I'd send Kareem because aliens, in my mind, are
small.
very, very small human
Okay,
beings.
fair.
Shaq. I'll send Shaq.
Shaq would be
he'll eat
perfect
him.
for an alien.
Shaq
Who
will
are
eat
you
him.
sending against the alien?
I'm probably sending Shaq too, man.
There you have it. Shaq's the GOAT.
I'm going to take one
we
look
just
at
spent
Shaq and be
25
like,
minutes.
where the hell did we land? and let's get the hell back in the
Yeah,
spaceship
yeah.
and onto another planet pronto.
I didn't say the alien test was foolproof.
Yeah, no, it's
It
fun to
just-
talk
it was-
about, though.
yeah.
It's absolutely fun to talk about. All right, so I think we settled it. LeBron's the GOAT.
Well,
Two votes-
Shaq's the GOAT.
2 votes on this panel, and Earl put it over the top. Do we want to do, what do we have? Do we have final
I
takes?
actually got some time, so if somebody got some final takes.
Because we're going to do Cavs in overtime, right? We don't
Yeah.
want to touch on Cavs here at all?
Yeah, we're gonna do Cavs in overtime. A 3-game road trip. Spider might be back. Can Evan Mobley
I hope he's
duplicate?
back. I mean, if he's not back, I start to get a little concerned if he's not back on this road trip.
I think he's back. I think he went
Yeah.
through a full practice yesterday from the sound
Right.
of things. I think he probably plays tonight.
Yeah,
he's in New York. He's going to want to go
Absolutely.
back in his hometown. I think he
Yep.
plays.
He also wants to put on a show for the Knicks, who didn't offer up as much as maybe he thought he was worth, and the Cavs did. And thank you, New York, for being suckers.
We can
Yeah,
we can,
for mismanaging that
we
whole
can
situation.
talk about that a little bit on overtime about how the Knicks dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely did.
There's also, real quick, for overtime, Brunson Garland is a matchup to watch tonight because those two are going to come down to probably the final All-Star spot in the East.
I don't think it's going the Cavs' way.
Really?
One All-Star. We talked about that. Maybe
Yeah, we did
I
talk
said,
about that.
I
but
said we'd get to ultimately because someone's going to bow out.
that
Yeah.
last spot, though, there's like 2 or 3 guys in that mix for that final spot. Garland's probably third on that list, and
Yeah.
Brunson's probably first
yeah,
right now.
I think Donovan's the only
Yeah.
All-Star representative
But
for the Cavs
let's say Garland-
after the first.
Let's say Garland goes off for 45 tonight and he locks down Brunson, then that's a head-to-head battle that you could actually head-to-head.
It's crazy. I mean, they had 3 All-Stars last year. If someone would have said next year we're going to have 1 All-Star and
And
he's
be
not
better.
currently on the team,
And he's not on the team.
you would have bet the house that could ever happen,
Yeah.
And they'd be better.
and they'd have a better record.
Yeah.
That
East is loaded.
really puts into perspective how great a move this was and how they maneuvered it and how it was. Tomorrow is the Cleveland
Award show.
Sports
award
awards.
show, sports awards, and I know Team of the Year is going to be the Guardians. I mean, it has to be.
Yeah.
For what they accomplished, and they don't have an award for GM of the Year or Move of the Year, but if they did, it would go to Kobe and the Cavs for what they were able to pull off, bringing Donovan Mitchell to town. It's mind-boggling how they got it done.
Yeah, I think Kobe will be in the conversation for Executive of the Year at the rate it's going. And I've got to give him credit because I pounded them. I hated the Kyrie trade. I felt like they sabotaged that window we've been talking about, the championship era.
Right.
I hated that trade. I thought it was an awful trade. You traded your second best player for a draft pick. And when you have a chance to win, go and win and try and win and deal with the rest later. Yeah, they knew LeBron was leaving, so try and win one more. And I hated the way that ended. But at the flip side, here they are. They're this young team. Their trajectory is a certain way. Everything's pointing up, and they found a guy who fit in perfectly, age-wise, contract-wise, with where they were, and they pushed all in.
And it doesn't
they went
include
for it.
LeBron.
And it doesn't include LeBron, but they pushed all in and they went for it with Donovan. And that's why I keep saying listen, those picks may really hurt in a couple years. It may really hurt to surrender those picks. They may be top 5 picks if this whole thing is over with by then. But you have a chance to win. Take the opportunity to win and push all in and go. And that's what they did with the Donovan trade. So as much as I hated the Kyrie trade, they did the exact opposite with Donovan, and they're pushing all in and they're going for it.
Yeah.
Do you think they learned their lesson?
No.
Not lesson after the right, but did they learn from that previous mistake?
It was all, that whole end was Dan and LeBron. And,
Gotcha, okay.
and that had nothing. That had to do with.
LeBron really wrote that chapter when he decided to leave.
Well, they knew he was going to leave.
I know, but him making that decision, like, you got to move on.
And
you're losing your biggest, most significant piece.
Yeah, and you know, the first time around, Dan would tell everyone around him, "I'll never let a player hold my organization hostage again. Like, I will never put myself in that position again." So the Kyrie trade for the draft pick all came down to Dan having leverage and saying, "You're not going to do this to me again. I have this unprotected lottery pick. Like, we're going to be fine." Okay, fine. Well, you just shot yourself in the foot, because we just got done talking about LeBron's performance in Game 1 of that, and everyone in that Cavs locker room, all the veterans who had won a championship, said the Warriors are vulnerable. Like, they are beatable. This team is fragile. This is not the same team as last year. We just need one more piece to really be able to apply that pressure, and they were one piece short.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to do a final take?
Yeah, I got one real quick.
Great.